Welcome to episode 17 of the TV Autopsy, slicing its way through the series you love. My name is James.
My name is Deborah.
And I'm Megan.
So, did I do something to offend you two ladies? Or
Yes.
more than usual? Oh, yeah. It's a bit quick. It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
We last met it was episode 18 when we discussed The Last of Us. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. But what date was that?
Gosh, a long time ago. I haven't got the dates in front of me. But yeah, we were supposed to be doing today a town called Malice. And I think we can talk a little about it. But I do know that it was something that kind of, we all put the kibosh on a little bit. But we'll get to that. So this is kind of a reset, really. We're going to be talking about really what we've been watching. So a bit of a free-for-all. And we'll go around and we can all pick a few. And then we'll decide what we're going to do for next month. And we'll try and get a bit more regular. Unlike my stomach at the moment, which is a little bit poorly.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, James.
I don't know why I shared that. Just in case I disappear.
A little bit of oversharing between friends is always absolutely fine.
Yeah. So here we go. So has anybody got any news?
So, a couple of things from a news perspective. Slow Horses on Apple TV is their third season is imminent. In fact, I think it might. I don't have a date for it, but it's imminent. And seasons 1 and 2, if you have not seen it, are phenomenal.
Okay.
I don't have Apple TV.
I think I raved about it on a I think it was my cutting edge on a previous episode. So good.
Okay.
So good.
So Slow Horses. Okay.
This is the I think MI5 or MI6, the goons who've ended up in the trash heap of UK intelligence through various cock-ups. But it's just really well written, excellent characters, funny, and yes, season 3
who's
on
the
its
famous
way.
person that's in it again?
Oh, lots of them. Don't throw that at me, Deborah. I don't do names.
Oh dear. Well,
I thought it wasn't Gary Oldman, was it?
No.
Well, don't worry. I'll have a look.
IMDbing it as we speak,
so
that we can.
Let's see who gets there first.
I can see a man on the front in my mind's eye.
Gary Oldman.
It is Gary Oldman.
No, it is. Yes, Gary Oldman.
Yeah, that one. Kristen Scott Thomas, Saskia Reeves, Olivia Cook, recognise her. Rosalind Eliza, recognise her.
Freddie Fox. I have starred in a show with Freddie Fox making a cup of tea, actually.
Oh, what show was that, Deborah?
It was called The Mystery of Edwin Drood by Charles Dickens. It's a lesser-known work that wasn't actually finished. He died before he'd finished it, so they.
Oh, I thought you lot. You just stopped doing it, making it.
No, we did carry on. Who else is in it? Phil Davis. He's Chalky. From Quadrophenia.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
All
right, so that's something. And I suppose Severance is coming back, isn't it, soon?
Severance as well. Also, I did try and check that today. I can't see a date for that yet, but I can give you a date. January 2025. The 4th season of True Detective is coming out, starring Jodie Foster.
Oh, really?
Really?
I really quite enjoy True Detective. Hang on, I've only seen 2. Were there 3?
3. There was another one in 20. There was it was like 2013, 2014, 2019, and next year.
Hang on, remind me. So the first one.
Oh, now you're bloody asking.
I could do these.
So you had Woody Harrelson, and Mr. Texan, Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
In the first one, and in the second one there was.
Was it Colin Farrell in the second one, or was that the third one? Bear with.
Well, we got Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff in the third one.
Stephen Dorff, yes, that's right. So that's the one that I've not seen, I think.
And what's it about?
Well, I don't know. There's not very much information about it.
What's the series about? I haven't seen any of them.
Well, they're discrete. Oh. They're discrete series, so the individual series stands alone. You don't need to. They don't follow one from each other. They're completely different casts.
Yeah.
But they are psychological. They're just very stylistic, or certainly the first couple of seasons were. So I don't know how the fourth one's
what was an
amazing
amazing achievement about the first one was that they did on one of the episodes one long running shot.
Oh yes.
That was obviously choreographed to oblivion.
For the whole episode.
It was just amazing. It wasn't the whole episode from memory. This is a few years ago now, but it really stood out because it was such an achievement that everything was done in one shot and everything was all choreographed. Blah, blah, blah. It was amazing. Really, really, really great. And actually, I didn't like Matthew McConaughey up until I saw True Detective.
Wow.
He'd given me the ick and all this sort of stuff. You know, I'd seen him as
he was a pretty boy, wasn't he?
When he used to be all buff and all that, and you know, he was in Contact and he was all buff, and it was just like, oh, you're just a bit icky. And then when he did True Detective, and he was suddenly really skinny and this kind of very introspective, brooding, cop with issues from his past, and his interaction with Woody Harrelson's character, which was they together absolutely brilliant. It was such compelling viewing. It was really,
it really
good.
was. I agree.
Old Woody can't do a thing wrong, really, can he? It's very good.
Yeah.
Goody Woody.
Yeah.
Goody Woody.
So yes, I feel like that was my little bit of my best bit of news, if I'm honest. So I was having a little look to see what
things have slowed down a little because of the writers' strike, I think. And obviously that means that a lot of the celebrities can't talk about any of the stuff that's out either. But I think is that come to an end now? Certainly part of it's been resolved. So hopefully it won't affect things too much.
I think it's just the actors,
and then there was the actors strike as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at.
Well, they're busily trying to make AI actors, right? I imagine.
Yes.
And it's all a bit chilly, really. I don't know if it's a good idea to bring back the dead. What do you guys think?
It wouldn't be my preference.
No.
It's not top of my list.
There's lots of very good actors out there that deserve a chance while they're alive. Yeah,
and they've done it. Obviously, Star Wars did it with Tarkin, didn't they? Grand Moff Tarkin, Vincent Price, but and Princess Leia. I was
going to say Princess Leia.
Yeah, but I just don't think there's a need for it. I mean, and also they don't get a say in it, really. Which I think
that's my I would say that's my overarching concern is that there's no consent to the use of their
image.
None whatsoever.
Their artistic discretion has been disbanded.
Yeah, and there's so many good actors out there, and it never bothers me if somebody else plays a role, if they're doing it with respect, and they don't even need to do an impersonation. As long as
every single soap opera in the history of television has swapped out characters, and we all get used to it. It's fine.
Well,
Coronation Street is something.
I'd like to point out that Doris
Neighbours,
Day,
Home and Away.
When Doris Day took over from Barbara Bel Geddes in Dallas for one season, I'm afraid there was a bit of an uproar. And she soon got turned back into Barbara Bel Geddes. I can tell you that for nothing.
Well, what happened to Barbara Bel Geddes?
Well, she's
Why
dead.
did she disappear? No, I know what I mean since, but why did she disappear for a season?
I think she was ill. I can't remember exactly, but
I reckon
yeah.
she probably annoyed somebody in the C-suite, and she got binned off like Joey on Friends. And then there was an absolute uproar because of somebody else taking the role, and they had to bring her back.
Hold on, that happened in Friends.
So Joey Tribbiani plays a friend's. He plays a character in a soap, and then he annoyed all the writers.
Yeah.
He annoyed all the writers, and they wrote him out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And well, you know, that was the beginning of the end, really, with her, and obviously that was the same time that Bobby left and then came back in the shower. Good times. All right, so if that's it for the news, we're going to move straight on to some cussing edge.
We're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine.
So we will do a cutting edge each, and then if anyone's got a flatliner each, and then we'll do some more cutting edges, shall we? We'll just cut those edges up. So can I start, please?
Yeah.
And I think it might be something that some of you, if not all of you, have already seen. And that was BBC One's The Reckoning, the 4-part drama about Jimmy Savile. You've not seen this?
No.
I mean, I love Steve Coogan, but I just haven't watched any of the Jimmy Savile documentaries, nor this one that's now coming out. I don't know. It makes
so my sister told me to watch it, and the style is quite interesting because it is a drama, but they cut in real footage every now and then of said celebrity
and testimonials as well, right?
And some testimonials from the start, and they happen at the start really, and then they, you know, so they don't kind of keep popping up, which is good, so it doesn't break the drama. But I mean, it is incredibly uncomfortable viewing. I mean, I don't think I've seen much more else that is more uncomfortable. I mean, it's so harrowing, and how manipulative he was. I mean, and how much he got away with, even when, you know, it only really started coming out when he went on Celebrity Big Brother, which is what they talk about. They don't mention.
I don't remember him on Celebrity Big Brother.
I think apparently they said he did a cameo, so I think he may have turned up for a day. I don't know, but because of that, lots of people started writing in saying, "Oh, this is the one that, you know." But he embedded himself in obviously BBC Centre, and he had like a little camper van that he slept in, and he was, you know, but he also embedded himself in Stoke Mandeville, I think, or something like that, hospital, where he basically had free reign to everybody. And then there were girls' schools he was going to. I mean, it was just awful. And then this, obviously they're played by actors, but there was this poor girl, this Asian girl who was her dream to be on TV. Went on Top of the Pops, and, you know, he got her, and afterwards she committed suicide, and they investigated it and he got away with it. They didn't, you know, and it's, I mean, it's very hard viewing. It's not, but Steve Coogan absolutely nails it as the character. And, you know, Margaret Thatcher had him over for Christmas dinner.
Well, Prince Charles, he consulted Prince Charles on various stuff as well.
Well, you can't, you know, I mean, from their point of view, he raised £10 million for the Stoke Mandeville Hospital. So, you know, he was just somebody who did lots and lots of work for charity. Why would you know, there's always a bit of accusation if someone's connected to somebody like that, but you can't, it's not anybody's fault but that person's, really, I think.
Not for doing it, but I think there are some fundamental systematic failures.
Oh, the BBC should be ashamed of itself. They didn't even check who was going in, you know. It's a free-for-all, really. And there were people saying, I don't think this is right, whether they're, you know, I don't think he's right. There's rumours, there's things, but nobody followed through on those. They just, it was a ratings winner. And then
I mean, you'd like to think that that's all over now and it wouldn't happen again. And then you get the Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Allegations.
Yeah, allegations. We all said it. But Yeah, I mean, it's just very sad that, you know, people with stars, and obviously people who are innocent with stars in their eyes and excited about going on Jim will fix it, then you know, got so screwed up, you know. Awful. Did anyone write to Jim will fix it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I did. Did you, Megan?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I did. I used to be a bit more of a Blue Peter groupie, so I used to send stuff into I got a Blue Peter badge.
Oh, did you? Oh, I always found Blue Peter a little dull.
Wow. I mean,
Sorry,
it was
those,
the height of entertainment in the back sticks where I grew up.
I mean, Why Don't You was my kind of go-to like magazine show.
I love a bit of
anarchic. Yeah.
I would turn the telly off when they said turn the telly off, go out and do something else less boring instead.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I'd go out and get
what was it? Well, there was nothing else to do but watch telly. Did you just come back in and turn it back on?
Yeah.
Did they wait until the end of the show to say that though?
No, they said it at the start.
It wasn't.
Why don't you? What? I'll put the theme tune in. There you go.
Pointless.
Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you just switch off your television set and go out and do something less boring instead?
You got to watch their program first, otherwise, how do you know what to do?
But
sometimes it was really boring. So, you know, and by that point, because I think it would come on at about 10 o'clock in the morning, by that point, I'd already seen about 4 hours worth of children's telly. So I was ready to get up and go.
Well, I liked it. I think it was a later series when they basically started doing like a kind of drama or like a very chunky like plot line with the kids throughout it. And they're like, I think there was a Welsh boy who was like trying to take over and stuff, which I always found was fun and stuff like that.
If we look back now, I mean, we would discover all the, you know, people like Jude Law and all of those guys that were.
Jude Law wasn't in Why Don't You?
Oh yes, he was. He presented Why Don't You? Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yeah, and we'll probably discover lots of others that we didn't think. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Yeah, Jude Law was
watch this space. We'll get back to you about that.
Yeah.
All right. So it's hard to recommend it, but as a piece of television, it's very powerful. It's very well made, you know, and at least the BBC made something, and we're, you know, looking critically at it, I guess. Yeah. So there we go.
Yes.
So, Deborah, you look like you're about to draw breath.
Well, yes, because generally that's what you have to do to keep living. But
you may continue.
There's a few things that I've been watching.
Should we choose just one, and then move around?
Let's do cutting edge then. One that I just saw recently and is #1 on Netflix at the moment, which is the Beckhams.
Oh, yes, that's on my list. I watched that
look
as well.
at you two.
It's really good.
I mean, really good.
Clearly, there's obviously the whole brand Beckham, try to spin it, make it look positive so that they come off well. But they do come off well. And actually, it's following him. It's called Beckham, not Beckhams. It's Beckham, singular, following his story. And it's really fascinating, you know, looking back on various highlights of his career and the downside of his career as well. And then when he met Victoria and the love that they share and the fact that he's, you know, a family man, but at the same time he uproots his family and they have to go all over the world at his whim, and she gets annoyed about it, and they're quite endearing because they both slag each other off, but in a funny way. You know, she's you know, she's trying to make out she's talking to camera. Yeah.
I've heard about this bit. Everyone's talking about that bit.
You know, we're working class family. We're both from working class families. And he puts his head through the door and says, "Now, Victoria, tell the truth. How did you get to school in the morning?" No. Well, you know, but that Victoria, how did you get to school in the morning? You've got to tell the truth. You say you're working class. Yeah, but I can't answer that, you know, without the backstory. No, Victoria, how did you get to school? My dad used to drive us in a Rolls Royce.
What?
And then, you know, and then other things like, you know, she used to speak common, but, you know, over the years, she's tried to...
So they're likable. They both come across as likable.
Yeah,
They
and-
do. They
and
really
it's-
do.
It is lovely, and it's lovely to be reminded of how hot he used to be. He's
And
so
also
hot.
how awful it actually was for him. Like some of the
Yeah.
awfulness that he had to put up with, and
Mm.
not
Didn't have
just.
to marry her.
Well, she was quite. I mean, when she was talking about sorts of the posh related chants that were going on, I mean, that was nothing in comparison to what he put up with after he got sent off in the World Cup.
Yeah,
And then he got put up with loads of stuff. All the clubs that he played for, he'd go through periods where
Yeah.
they were absolutely brutal.
I've always thought it's a pity because when you hear her being interviewed, actually, she comes across as very likable. I think, really, on the whole.
yeah, she's got humour. She's got a dry wit.
Yeah, and I suppose it's the media, but the image of her is quite spiky.
Yeah.
Well,
and
the
frosty.
media is hateful.
The
Always
media is
Yeah.
hateful. I mean,
They'll create-
she does put across, a kind of persona, and we know that she does because she has, she's changed her accent a bit and all this sort of stuff. And we know that when she's doing, like, I don't know if you see this on your Facebook threads, like the adverts that come up, but the makeup, Victoria Beckham makeup, and then she might just turn up. She goes, "Oh, I, you put it on the eyes, and it's very forced." But look, from an interview side of things, I think she's great, and I think he's great. I think he's still, regardless of all the money, and he just, he fully admits to being not very clever, and always spending his money because he likes nice things. He's still, I think, because he comes from a band of brothers, teammates that are all in the same boat with money and celebrity and so on. He's pretty grounded. I think they keep him down a peg or two. They speak very candidly to one another. So, and then I suppose he then throws that off at the celebrity world that Victoria lives and just sort of knocks her down a peg or two. It's like, yeah, all right, yeah.
But neither of them are, I would say, in any respect, stupid. They've managed to do Bram Beckham incredibly well. In fact, they've made a lot of money. So I'd hardly say either of them are stupid.
No, exactly. Very, very shrewd business sense.
Yeah. They're very sorry.
Yeah, no, and he's very resilient. It showed his strength of character, and you can really see his strength of character because a lot of people used to take the mickey out of him media-wise, and in terms of how he spoke and how he came across, and obviously his voice has deepened over the years. But when you actually see him in this kind of interview mode, and then watch the way that he sort of fights back and says, I'm not going to give up, and that determination, like the mettle of the man. He's really quite an inspiring fella, really.
Oh,
I quite like the way that Victoria also, when she was, because it's a 4-part documentary, and in the final part, I think she was kind of reflecting on the fact that she was surprised at how open she'd been, and she was joking about it basically being her therapy sessions.
Yeah,
right.
Talking about it all and realizing that actually she did still have quite, there was still some emotion associated with things that had gone on. It was an excellent viewing experience, I would say.
Very enjoyable.
And is it over now? Is it, how many parts was it?
There's only 4, and all accessible, really quick. You can just get through them really quickly. It's an enjoyable watch. The 4th one, I think, is everyone's favourite episode, it seems.
Okay. And that was on Netflix?
On Netflix.
Yeah.
It's number 1 on Netflix at the moment.
Number 1. All right, well, Megan, you're my number 1. So why don't you give me that? Do you like that link?
So
why don't you give me a cutting edge?
I'm going to give you a cutting edge, which I have actually only discovered this week. I have got loads that I've watched since we last spoke. But over the last week or so, I have discovered on Apple TV Foundation.
Okay. Foundation.
Foundation. It is sci-fi. It's the based on Isaac Asimov's like epic series, and it's so superbly done. I haven't really organized my thoughts around it. I haven't finished watching it, but it's thoroughly entertaining. It's
So it's something about the
It's-
Galactic Empire? Tell me about it.
It's set in an environment where the Empire is the figureheads of the Empire are these 3 clones of an original emperor, and
Yeah.
they're all called Empire. And they represent dawn, day, and dusk, and they're clones, and so more clones are bred to replace them. So there's this sort of like big discussion
run
about.
out.
Sorry.
They never run out. Basically, there's always.
Yeah, and they're sort of like the worshipped leaders of this empire. And then there's this there is a mathematician who claims to be able to predict the future through maths, and there's this ancient conundrum that suddenly gets solved by
Dude.
a girl who is on another planet that
Like
shouldn't
in
know this
Countdown.
stuff, and it and anyway, this professor is predicting the downfall, and so he gets exiled, and he's suggesting it's really difficult to explain.
Well,
He's
I think
suggesting
you
that
did a pretty good job.
this foundation is created, and the foundation is his legacy. There's lots of jumps from one time zone to another, and
On a level
really
from-
intelligent requirement, but also thoroughly engaging.
All right,
Really,
so that's
really
what I was
good.
going to ask. On a level of 1 to sci-fi, what is it? Is it do you have to really like sci-fi, or is it something that anyone could kind of tune into? And
Well, I think anyone could tune into it.
well, yeah, it depends if they like it or not. That's kind of what I meant.
But well, I mean, I like a bit of sci-fi.
Yeah.
I
love
don't.
sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm not into your Star Trek and your Star Wars in the same way as
Okay.
other people I could mention. But I think it's so there'll be some real themes that you'll see in all sci-fi, but actually there's some really, really interesting premise
Okay.
building around it, and just it's obviously there's been a lot of money spent on it. It's really excellent production.
And that's Apple TV. I need to subscribe to Apple TV.
You really do. It's
Yeah,
got some
and it's not
properly
much.
excellent
It's
stuff.
actually quite reasonable compared to, and if you want a bit of a refreshing change from your Netflix, which for me kind of goes in waves. You know, you sometimes find some really good stuff, but then for ages it's just a bit of dross, really. I find more and more I'm just buying like the films I want to buy and watch on Amazon. You know, I'm doing it like that. Okay, well, let's move on to...
Quite a few of my things that I've been watching have been on Apple.
Okay,
It's so
that's fine.
good.
Well, and we're going to go on to Flatliner, but then we can come back to any others, like to mop them up, if you like. I'm going to do it. My Flatliner is a town called Malice.
Ah.
Okay. All right, because we said we were going to talk about it, and I mean, look, I have to be honest, I didn't get very far. There was very little. There was very little for me to like about it. It felt like a lot of shouty EastEnders sort of thing, and the acting was a bit crap, and
the acting was terrible.
Yeah, the Costa del
It was
crime
awful.
thing was just. I mean, who wants to put their hands up on that one? Who chose it, Deborah?
Me, I chose it.
Was it you?
Yeah,
I apologise
I chose
to Deborah for
Thank
accusing her.
you.
Take it back.
Yeah, I do.
I had it recommended to me.
Yeah.
From
By who? They're not a friend.
I'm not going to name and shame them.
God say they're not a friend. That's a bit harsh.
They are a friend. Otherwise, I wouldn't have automatically picked it. But yeah, they'd recommended it, and they'd kind of talked about how much they liked it. It was a bit of a throwback to the 80s and blah blah blah. And I was just anyway, when I was watching it, I felt exactly the same. I was just I could not stand it. It was a poor man's Tarantino-esque.
Oh, it was.
Carnage.
I watched
just
one
really badly
episode, and
done.
I wrote notes on my phone as we went. Just through
Okay,
one
let's
episode.
hear these notes then. Go on.
I sat with Laurie watching this. I was like, Really bad fake Cockney. Incidental music was terribly cheesy. It's trying to be 80s. It just doesn't look 80s.
No.
Paul Weller cameo was surprised. He must be embarrassed. The chat up at the club, the chatting up at a club, there was no misogyny at all. The conversation that they had would not have happened. Cockney air hostess, Interpol, extradition, fake set pickup, no topless Spaniards. They're all pale. They're meant to be in Malaga, for God's sakes. Martha Plimpton was trying to be Pat Butcher. DJ
Yes.
Scott, caricature. Can't do comedy nor irony. Detective staring at a car that drove off. Oh, what is the detective staring at as the car drove off? Swam with gold watches on. The size of the detective's hairdo is ridiculous. I know 80s Spain, and that ain't it. Alvarez convinced with 2-minute conversation. No sweat, no crickets. Carlos and Juan, they are not Spaniards. The irony is not funny. Guy Ritchie audience. And James has disappeared. He obviously got bored.
Or caught short. Let's keep going and hope he comes back.
That was half the episode. I gave up.
I watched 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I watched 4 episodes because I was like trying to force myself to watch it, especially as it was my suggestion. And
it's not your fault.
It was so awful. There was nothing. To your point, I wasn't convinced by the 80s.
Yeah.
I wasn't convinced by anybody's acting. There just the undertone of the girl getting in with the family that just wasn't. There was no
convincing.
Wasn't convincing or subtle enough, or I don't know. It was just, all of it was terrible, absolutely terrible. And what you would have missed if you only made it through the first was just the sheer speed with which she became so Tarantino.
Oh, did she, like a killer?
Oh, shoot-ups and like the amount of killing that it was just like, I'm not buying into any of this.
Yeah.
Now, you may have got to the end of the series and discovered that it all came together nicely, but I lost the will at 4 episodes.
Yeah, it's not a series I don't think is going to be continued to season 2. I wouldn't have thought.
Certainly won't be having a pop at it if it is.
I don't know if we're going to get James back, but shall we carry on just in case?
Yeah. Have you got a
flatliner?
A flatliner, that's what I was looking for.
I started to watch My Mum, Your Dad, which is kind of like the Davina McCall version of Love Island with
the dating thing.
People. Yeah, and then that sort of tailed off for me. So I think I got to about episode 4, and then I just lost interest, and that was that. So it wasn't like it was particularly bad, but it was particularly exciting.
I didn't get into that. What I've avoided a lot of the reality style TV shows of late. I watched the
Although you do watch Strictly, surely.
No.
You don't watch Strictly?
I've never really watched Strictly.
It's such an education.
I don't feel I need that sort of an education.
Oh, it's wonderful education. And it's so joyous. And it makes you cry most weekends you'd be crying.
Well, I would if I was made to watch it. So
fair enough. Okay, so yeah, you keep away from.
I tend to keep away from them. I usually have enough. I have enough in my soul to do like one really big reality TV series a year, and that's
like
it.
The Traitors. When's that back? Is that coming?
Oh,
back?
that is coming back. That's not. That doesn't kill a little bit of my soul as it goes, so I wouldn't count that.
Have you seen the Australian version and the American version?
So
yes,
I have not seen those because I can only watch one. However, can I just say what I did watch, the big emotional consumption that I had was Maths Australia.
Maths, Married at First Sight.
The Australian version. The UK version's happening now.
Okay.
But the Australian version earlier in the year was a shocker. and it just takes. Oh, it just kills.
Just tell me the
bit
premise
my
of this show, because I have heard
So
about
the premise of Married at First Sight is
He's back.
Yeah,
you get eight. You get
I hope
eight.
you didn't tell
eight-
anybody.
8 men and 8 women who get paired up and get married. They literally meet each other at the aisle and get married.
Oh my God.
And then they have this sort of like 8-week social experiment around whether or not they can, you know, fall for each other, and it's all very contrived. All the circumstances are very contrived. It's become so famous now that people are doing it just to get famous and increase their aware brand and do all of this sort of thing. But the Australian one is always claimed to be, everyone always says it's better than the British one. So I watched the Australian one this year, which is why I do not have the emotional energy to watch the UK one. But it's just so shocking, like the misogyny, the manipulation. I'm not saying the women are perfect by any stretch, but there is some deeply, deeply brutal, unacceptable behavior that just riles me so much. Whereas this year's the first time I've really seen they have 3 psychologists who help manage a lot of interactions on a weekly basis, and the couples have to say whether they're going to stay or go and what problems they're having. And
Who puts them together?
the psychologists.
So,
Can I say not
don't,
medically trained? Just
yeah, and they don't.
Some of it's
They don't
horrendous.
spot any misogyny from these
So-
contestants until they get married off.
I mean, misogyny is everywhere, so you know you can't just ban it from a misogyny perspective. But there was
No, but you're
there
saying
was
it
some
to a shocking
really
extent.
brutal, manipulative, nasty behaviour this time.
Right.
One guy got kicked off, and another guy was just perfectly left to. I kind of don't know where I sit on how it's allowed to continue, because it's such unpleasant, awful behaviour. It has to come up in screening beforehand.
Like kind of coercive control type stuff.
Yeah. Some of
Yeah.
it is,
God.
yeah. They can't possibly
well,
be
maybe.
pairing these people up without knowing that one's a wrong un and that one's a wrong un and that one's downright dangerous.
Well, oh my God. Well, maybe the public will treat them with less respect. Who knows? All right. So have we all done our on the oh God, I nearly called it something else then.
Flatliner.
Flatliner.
Yeah.
We all done them. So can I suggest we do maybe one more each? Otherwise, we're gonna be going on a little bit. What
Yep.
do we
Yeah.
think? All right, I'll start us off. And I'm not going to spend long talking about this. I think I mentioned it before, but Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. So this is a kind of Star Trek. There's been an explosion of Star Trek TV. It started with Discovery, and there was loads of rights issues, which is why Discovery didn't look like Star Trek. I don't know the ins and outs of it. Anyway, that all got sorted out. Then there's 2 cartoons, one featuring Janeway, which Kate Mulgrew, who I'm a massive fan of, so that was lovely to see her back. That got axed, but then it got Netflix has picked it up. So she's basically played a hologram of herself in a cartoon, which is just lovely if you like Voyager, which I quite did. Then we had a number of other ones, but they have been making. They made one which is in the 2nd season now, finished the 2nd season, called Strange New Worlds, and this is a prequel to the original Star Trek series. So it's full of colour, full of jokes, japes, and bottle episodes. You know, all you don't have to be a fan really. And it's very likable. It's it's not got the serious politics as much. They had a musical episode the other day, which was quite funny, and they somehow tried to explain it, but
I mean, no series is no TV show is complete now without musical episode.
But yeah,
who started? How did that get started? Because I know my earliest experience of it is Buffy.
Yes, I think that was probably one of the first ones, to be honest. Yes,
just one of the best ones ever.
Yeah, because I was going to say because what was the name of the show that came a lot later with the tragic death that one of the main characters died of a heroin overdose. One of the main actors. It was Glee. Anyone remember Glee?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was huge for a series or two.
Yeah, but that wasn't like a straight program suddenly bursting into song. That
But
was
it
always
kind
about
of
the
was.
song.
But it would.
But
Yeah,
it
but
was
it
always
also
about the song.
it was about the songs, but it was also about the bursting into song as well, wasn't it? There was a lot of bursting into song.
There was, but my point being that was the
yes.
premise of the show.
Yeah, I agree. Buffy did it brilliantly, and still everybody seems to think that one was one of the best.
It was epic.
Anyone know any others?
I still know all the songs.
I do.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, there we
My
go.
flatmate and I, if we'd had a rubbish day at work, we'd be like, "Oh, it was so rubbish today," and we'd be like, "Is it once more with feeling rubbish?" And we'd put it on just to cheer ourselves up. Have a little
Listeners,
sing-song.
I have absolutely no idea what these guys are on about. So
Did you never watch
my
Buffy?
item-
Did you never watch Buffy?
Yeah, I did, but I don't know what you're saying in terms
So
of.
it was basically an episode of Buffy where she got cursed. The whole cast got cursed, and so everything they said was in a musical. They became like, so it was all songs, and they did.
It was
they,
all
Okay.
songs.
Yeah.
Like suddenly, like they got the mustard out.
yeah, very much like that. And the same for Star Trek.
Everyone had their own little songs that were just completely in line with what
I
their
obviously
deep
missed that episode.
inner feelings, all their secrets coming out in song. It was brilliant.
So just to wrap it up, and also for those, I doubt you'll know what I'm talking about here, but there was in the original series of Star Trek, there was an episode where Captain Kirk had to fight a creature called the Gorn, or the Gorm, or something like that, the Gorm. And it was basically a man with a lizard head on it, and it was looked like a very 60s thing. What they've done with that whole kind of race is make them into like an alien sort of race, really. And now they're like the big bad of the whole series, and they are pretty terrifying. They get, the way they eat everybody and stuff. So it's quite nice how they've wrapped that up. And also, finally, the captain's Captain Pike, and he appeared in the pilot episode of Star Trek, the original, but was replaced by James T. Kirk, William Shatner. So it's all about, and they actually I looked at that story in the original series, and they said that captain had basically got disfigured and ended up going back to this planet where the aliens basically made them think he was beautiful, and he knows this is coming, Captain Pike. So it's quite interesting. Just I don't know how long. I think it'll run for 3 or 4 seasons, but his end is already preordained, and we've already met Captain Kirk and stuff like that.
And what platforms are it on? Did you say
it is on Paramount Plus, which seem to own all the Star Trek stuff, but you can get it as an add-on to Amazon and stuff like that. But I am very aware that we can't all be buying all these platforms all the time. So
Paramount comes free with my Sky subscription.
Well, lucky you.
Yeah.
So there you go. Deborah's got it all wrapped up. All right, so that's me
Just don't have Apple.
So Deborah, have you got one more for us?
Yes, so I just started watching. So there's this. So on Friday the 13th, just gone, a new BBC Two series started called Uncanny. Now it's new in terms of visually new because previously it was a podcast. So this chap called Danny Robbins, who I'm friends with on Facebook, and actually who Dawn knows, who was at uni with us. You remember Dawn?
Maybe you can point her out in the picture that's behind me.
I will point her out in the picture behind you. So Danny Robbins is a comedian, is a writer, blah, 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 blah. And he has had these various podcasts, and then he got into the sort of paranormal and had a couple of podcasts about the paranormal, and then basically investigative stuff. And it's not like, watching Most Haunted on some random channel. This is something slightly different. And he's been running this podcast called Uncanny, and now he's started it as a visual TV show to watch, and that started on Friday. And I've not listened to his podcasts previously, but when I watched this episode, which is available on iPlayer because it's on BBC Two, it did give me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, okay.
So he's basically presenting it in 2 ways. Are you team believer, or are you team, I was going to say skeptic?
Septic.
I'm definitely team septic.
Me too
so
at the moment.
So he sort of tries, so he gets a couple of psychologists and a couple of professionals and this, that, but he'll get somebody in that might have written to him, and he'll sit and talk to them about their experience or something, you know, and then he will go and investigate. So this first episode is called Miss Howard, and quite a lot of it is answered, but you can sit there on two sides, decide whether you're a skeptic or a believer, but it's very kind of compelling. And I think he's going to revisit this particular case, Miss Howard, in an episode later on down the line. The next episode is this coming Friday, so it's on every Friday.
Okay. I'm definitely going to check that out. That sounds right up my strasse.
It did give me. It talked about time slip as well. If you've ever heard about time slips, there's apparently a very famous area in Liverpool called Bold Street, which is quite famous for time slip, paranormal activity there, where people just suddenly find themselves in the 1950s for a couple of minutes, and then it will.
I should also point out that Time Slip is one of the lowest ever rated stories from Doctor Who, featuring Colin Baker, from 1985. So yeah, not a popular choice.
Was that on a top bar?
I pulled it from my mind because I know all of these things.
Well, that's very impressive. Anyway, I'll leave that with you. That is something to watch on a weekly basis as we're coming into Halloween. There's only 4 episodes, I think.
Brilliant. Well, I'm definitely going to watch it. So, Megan, close our recommendations with what?
Oh, okay. So I have recently finished watching all 6 seasons of Longmire.
What the flip is that?
So I got into it a couple of years ago via the books, through recommendations from American friends of mine. And so I read a couple of the books, and then realized that the series was on one of the streaming channels.
Yeah.
And it is set in northern Wyoming, in kind of like cowboy country.
Yeah.
And the main character is the sheriff of a small town, proper, like, you know, cowboy hat sheriff.
Hold on a minute. Is this like that sci-fi thing from the Western, like that Western sci-fi
no
thing?
No sci-fi whatsoever.
Firefly. Sounds like Firefly to me.
It's nothing like that.
What did you say it was called again, Megan?
Longmire.
Firefly.
Longmire.
It's an anagram of Firefly. Anyway.
So he's the main character, but his best mate is a Native American who runs the local bar. And there's a lot of the dynamic around the town and the local tribe that is building a casino and all of that sort of stuff. And I've watched all 6 seasons. It got a little bit ridiculous towards the end, but it's a very engaging, munchable. And I'd forgotten about it, having watched maybe 3 or 4 of the seasons. And when I was in the States recently, and I went to have a look at Netflix.
Where did you go? You went to look at Netflix. What, the building?
I went to Nashville.
Oh, I love Nashville.
Yeah. So before traveling home, BA managed to cancel our flights, and we had to come back American Airlines. So I was not optimistic that our in-flight entertainment would work. So I went to see if I could download any more programs. Yeah. And in Netflix in America, I picked up the US Netflix, and they had all of the rest of the Longmire. So I downloaded all of those, and then I could watch them when I got home.
It's a little bit exciting when you go somewhere else and turn on Netflix, because it's like, what have they got that we haven't got, and stuff like that.
But I didn't even realise that until I got home and went to... I did have to buy... I had to buy some of the very last episodes because I hadn't downloaded all of them, and realised that we don't have them in the UK.
Nope. You can. No, I'm not going to tell you how to get Netflix.
No. Don't
absolutely
tell me how to break
no, I wouldn't,
rules.
because I wouldn't know anyway. So, all right. So, well, I think we've covered quite a bit today. So we are going to really try and stick to our monthly viewing schedule now, aren't we?
Yes.
And it's through no fault of anybody individually. It's just been a very challenging year for lots of us. So what we're going to do is choose our main feature for next month, and that's Deborah, I think. So Deborah, what have you got for us?
I am very ashamed to say that I have not done Yellow Jackets season 2 yet.
Well,
Me
oh gosh, I
either.
can't believe we've all gone through this without mentioning the YJs. Well, I like to say I've seen all of it.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay, I was
But it
going
was so
to
long
choose
ago, I
that.
forgot about it. Yeah.
So yeah, I was going to choose that as
Should we do that?
as my one, just so that it means that I can actually finally sit and watch it with pure focus and concentration. And Megan, you say you haven't watched it yet either.
I haven't watched it yet. No.
Oh, great.
excellent.
Let's do that. Because I would really like to break that down, actually, compared to, because we were all big fans of the first season, weren't we?
Yes.
Yes.
we were.
Yeah, great. So brilliant. Don't worry, it's nothing to worry about. It's all going to be
Okay.
fine. They're all
Okay.
still there, being the Yellow Jacket people.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Oh, it's nice to see you both and hear your lovely
Aw.
voices. When are we going to have
Lovely
our
to
meet?
see you.
We'll talk about this off there, but we are going to meet up soon, aren't we? And have a TV autopsy time of it.
Yes.
Yes. I think we
TV
should.
autopsy stroke lighthouse family gathering.
Don't invite those idiots. All right then. Well, we haven't got a catchphrase at the end, have we? Have we?
Yeah, we kind
Have
of do.
What is it?
Well, I think we all just say goodbye, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's just
Do
the
we do
same.
it? We do it in a certain
Oh
way, though,
no,
don't we?
I've got it here. Oh no, that's not right. No, I don't think we have got them. Oh,
I
here we
say,
go. Oh yes, I've got it
goodbye
here.
then.
Okay, no, here we go.
It's
So
so
that's-
long.
So that's the end of the show. Let's call it. That was episode number 19. Time of death, 1954. That was the TV autopsy. Goodbye.
Goodbye now.
Bye.
TV